You got questions, I got answers. Why don't you get in the back of this bird right here and we'll go for a little ride. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Scrap Mechanics channel. This is a special episode of Scrap Mechanics centered around the amazing feedback you all gave me for my 5,000 subscriber milestone video. I promised to bring you all a Q&A and asked for questions to be submitted, so you asked and now I'm here to answer. But before we get to the questions, some of you may remember voting in a poll on that video where I asked if you would like to see me include other games on this channel as additional content. So this is something I've really been unsure about because I know you subscribe to see Scrap Mechanic, but the support for other games has been more than I ever expected, coming in at a whopping 85%. So I scoured through your game suggestions, and by far the most requested game was TerraTech, so I'm happy to say that I already have some footage of my first impressions of the game recorded, so you're going to be seeing that soon. And I want to assure you that the presence of other games on this channel will not affect my Scrap Mechanic schedule. I've always uploaded Scrap Mechanic on Fridays, and I have no plans on changing that anytime soon. So if you're a die-hard Scrap Mechanic subscriber, no need to worry, you're going to be getting exactly the same amount of content from Scrap Mechanic on this channel. I'm also considering investing in No Man's Sky because, well, I mean, it looks amazing. So that's why I asked in my last video on the logic gates if you'd like to see that on this channel as well. You're getting TerraTech. Do you want TerraTech and No Man's Sky? Head over to that video and vote now if you haven't. So some of you are probably thinking, your channel name is Scrap Mechanics, doesn't that kind of mean you have to stick to Scrap Mechanic? Of course not. My name will always be an homage to what got me started on YouTube, and to me, Scrap Mechanist isn't just a reference to a game, but it's also a mindset that the game encourages. The mindset to create and put things together with the tools at your disposal. And that's how I treat not just my builds, but my YouTube channel as a whole. No matter what game I play on this channel, that will always be my mindset, putting something together with the tools at hand, whether it be builds, videos, scripts, short films, etc. It's always about fun and creativity. Now on to your questions. First question! We're gonna start off with a question submitted via Patreon, as I'm giving Patreon supporters priority for videos like these. So Dominic Schreiner asks, what's your real name? P.S. Your videos are awesome. Well, thank you, Dominic. I know a few people have been wondering what my real name is, and I've decided to use Scrap Mechanic to help reveal my first name. So with the push of this button... That's right, my name is Billy. Was it everything you never expected? Next question! Kyle DeQuesne asks, do you have a wife? Yes, and we actually had our 1-year anniversary just this month, so thanks for asking. Next question! A common question I was asked was about if I will ever do Facecam. I'm definitely not opposed to that in the future, but I would want to do it right, which means I would want to invest in some good gear to do it, meaning a good webcam, a green screen setup, or at least a better looking background than my crappy little room here. So if you want to play a part in helping me get there, then Patreon's probably the best way to do that. Once I reach a certain milestone, then Facecam will definitely be feasible. Next question! Another common question I received was asking about my age. I'm curious how old you think I am, so if you want to indulge me, take a moment to think about that right now and pause the video to comment how old you thought I was before watching this. Do it right now. Alright, are we back? Alright, let's find out how close you were, because once I press this button, your question will be answered. That's right, 26 years old, born in 1990. Was I older or younger than you thought? Next question! Awesome Dylan asks, when do you think you will hit 1 million subs? What plans do you have for the future of this channel? Well, if things keep growing at this rate, I should expect to hit 1 million subs in over 60 years. Screw it! I quit! Just kidding. Subscriber growth actually doesn't grow at a linear rate, it's more of an exponential rate. So if it keeps growing at this rate exponentially, then according to a friend of mine who does these types of calculation professionally, I should expect to hit 1 million subs on March 6th, 2019. So if you guys keep on liking and sharing my stuff, maybe we'll prove them wrong and get there even earlier. As for the future of my channel, stick around to find out. Next question. CP does ask, what did you do before YouTube? Well, I only just started YouTube a few months ago, so not too much has changed yet, but if you mean for work, then what I did and still do is I teach circus skills to kids at a private school. Next question! Silver Dragon asks, how long have you been making creations and what is your best? How long have I been making creations? Well, let's find out. My very first save file was called Homeworld, and I made that on January 24th of 2016, so that was only a few days after the game's release. And you know what? Let's go and take a look at what my very first save file looks like. Okay guys, I just spawned into the first world I've ever created, and behind me is this thing. Now this was actually the first thing I built in this game, and this is what inspired the wall climber, or the pipe climber, that I built for Wall Climb Warrior. And Wall Climb Warrior was my first major video on this channel. Okay, so I did a little bit of exploring, and I found something else down here. I think this was my testing wall to test out my wall climber. Look at that. So what is this thing down here now? I think this is the second thing I've ever built in Scrap Mechanics, so button 1. Whoa, look at that. So I think this was my first flying thing ever. So yeah, welcome to creation number 2 of the Scrap Mechanics channel. I have gone from this to, you asked what my favorite creation was? This is my current favorite creation. It's just great all around for flying, and it's fast and stable and always gets me wherever I need to go pretty quick. Next question! Another question I got quite a few times was asking me where I live. Well, fortunately for you, I've built this totally accurate map to show you exactly where it is that I live. If it isn't already obvious by my insanely accurate cartography skills, these are the islands of Hawaii, and up here we have the island of Oahu, and that bearing marks the state's capital, Honolulu, which is where I've been living for the past 8 years now. Next question! Ollie Ekenburg has a few weird and crazy questions. What is your name? Answered. Where do you live? Answered. What do you like to eat? Food. What is your favorite color? Red. Do you like cow's milk or goat's milk? Yes. Do you have brown hair? Yes. What is your blood type? Warm. Are you allergic to anything? Not really. Also, don't touch me. What? That doesn't sound like a question. That sounds like a demand. And you want to know how I respond to being told what to do? Boop. Next question. Doge Lord asks, what's your favorite movie, book, game, anime series, anime movie, YouTube video, YouTube creator, funniest moment, music, artist, song? Answer one of them, or all of them, or maybe half of them, or none. Wow, Doge Lord, such ask. Very question. Wow. I will answer one of them. My favorite YouTube creator is probably Kurzgesagt, in a nutshell. It has nothing to do with gaming. I never really watched much gaming on YouTube before I started doing it, honestly, so almost all of my subscriptions are to non-gaming channels, and I like channels that are able to teach science topics in clear and concise ways with creative visual aids and good editing, and Kurzgesagt really does that all across the board. CGP Grey is another great example as well. Next question! Max N asks, what's your favorite vowel? Well, that's an easy one, Max. It's you. Next question. Hussein Naqvi asks, Scrap Mechanist, what are your hobbies other than making videos on your amazing creations? Well, some of you may know from my film short that I do compose music, so music composition and producing has been a big part of my life since I started playing guitar when I was 12. I'm also a circus performer. I do various juggling skills, hand balancing, some acrobatics, slacklining, card magic, and other things like that. I've been in a few circus productions, but mostly worked as an independent performer and as part of a duo. Next question! Elijah Lopez asks, how are you? Good. Next question! CPT Kangaroo asks, how do you do this? Just how? Well, it's simple, you see. You start off like this, and then before you know it, you got 2 blocks. And then you start adding some different parts, start adding some switches, start connecting things to each other, and before you know it, you got yourself... Next question! Lichtbulb asks, how do you get your vehicle in a tree? This is a good question. You may notice a lot of us Scrap Mechanic players will often get our vehicles stuck in trees, so if you've been wanting to do that, I have the perfect strategy for you. I find it works best if you just try really hard to avoid all the trees, then usually within seconds you can find your vehicle in a tree.
Next question.
Creeper KO asks, what monitor and computer tower do you use? Well, actually I don't. I'm on a laptop. I know, right? I can't afford a desktop right now, but it is a gaming laptop, and I have a cheap secondary monitor that isn't even 1080p, so yeah. Hoping to make some upgrades eventually, but right now YouTube is not netting me nearly enough to afford that. But maybe one day. Some people asked what my computer specs are, so here you go. I have an Asus Republic of Gamers G750JX. It's got a GeForce GTX 770M, an Intel i7 2.4 GHz processor, and 16 gigabytes of RAM.
Next question.
I have a few questions about my recording and editing equipment, so here you go. The mic I use is a Blue Yeti. I use Shadowplay to record my gameplay. I use Audacity to record my voiceover during gameplay. I use Ableton Live to enhance and edit my voiceovers and write music if necessary. And I use Adobe Premiere Pro to edit video and Adobe Photoshop to edit images like thumbnails and stuff.
Next question.
Alan Online asks, are you one of the creators of Scrap Mechanic? No.
Next question.
Acid TV asks, are you gonna do game sessions with your subs in Scrap Mechanic? Well, if I do decide to do something like that, it will probably have to be like a Patreon perk rather than a YouTube thing, but yeah, I'd be open to offering game sessions to those who help the channel out like that.
Next question!
A Kingdom asks, who inspired you to play Scrap Mechanic? Well, I heard about Scrap Mechanic thanks to the only gaming channel I was subbed to at the time, and that is Dragast, who just recently broke 1 million subscribers, so big congrats to him. Maybe one day I'll get there, like March 6, 2019.
Next question.
A few people asked me what inspired me to do YouTube. Well, this is actually an interesting story. So Dragast inspired me to play Scrap Mechanic, but I was playing Scrap Mechanic for 4 months before I ever even made a YouTube channel. So the YouTube thing was a really unexpected decision. After spending 4 months building creations, I had a few people ask me if I had a channel, and I always said no. And I had a few people recommend that I submit stuff to the Reddit, and this was before the workshop, so I decided I wanted to be able to share my creations with people and show them what I've created. And I figured YouTube's the best way to do that, so I made a channel, I uploaded a montage of all my good creations at the time, and I had no intention of taking YouTube seriously. I just kinda wanted to use it as a place to archive my builds and to link people to. But I also decided to send one of my creations, to Mr. Miola just for the hell of it. And unexpectedly, he ended up featuring it on his channel, and he gave my channel a huge shout out and encouraged people to come subscribe to me. I only had one video up at the time, but I guess he saw enough in that video to give me that encouragement, and then people started subscribing to me. I was shocked. It felt like it was an opportunity that I just couldn't let slip by, so within a few days I bought a mic, and I started treating it like it was my job. I set a schedule, and I worked hard making videos, so if it wasn't for Mr. Miola putting his faith in a channel with a single 2-minute video on it, then I probably wouldn't be doing YouTube like this, so Mr. Miola, thanks, man. Alright, I think I'm gonna stop the questions there and just thank you all again for the amazing support. I read all of your comments and always enjoy it, so tell me what you thought below. I would love to be able to do this full-time one day, and every single one of you are helping me get there. And don't forget that if you want to speed up that process, Patreon is an option as well, and your help will not go unrewarded. I'm both scared and excited to see how you're going to respond to introducing other games to this channel, but I'm hoping it'll be a way to help the channel grow even bigger. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time on the Scrap Mechanics channel.